Over the past 2 decades, economic links between China and the 6 states of the Gulf Cooperation Council, also known as the GCC, have grown significantly closer. China's investment in the region has boomed post-pandemic, and today, China is the Middle East's biggest trade and economic partner. Rapid growth in sectors like energy and infrastructure, we believe, provide investors opportunities in the region. The Gulf is China's largest oil supplier, and those states are using that oil-based revenue to diversify their economies, reducing dependence on income from fossil fuel and also greening their own energy sectors. In return, China, with its expertise in renewable power and infrastructure development, is a key partner in the region's push for FDI, foreign direct investment. In Dubai, the world's largest solar farm under construction is being built by a Chinese energy provider, part of a $14 billion project which will provide green power for 250,000 homes. And that green energy is spurring development of what's been called the Internet of Things in electricity. Digital devices will allow sophisticated power network monitoring, with advanced computer programs controlling this smart grid, optimizing how electricity is made, moved, and stored. We believe there could be investment opportunities in grid digitization, distribution network upgrades, and ultra-high voltage projects. And energy is at the heart of a new drive towards environmental commitments in the region, with UBS analysts noting some sovereign wealth funds from the Middle East are excluding fossil-based investments from their portfolios. China's domestic energy transition could also offer investment opportunities. We estimate that renewable operators, power grid, and wind equipment sectors should all provide potential earnings 24 to 30% higher than average by 2025. In December 2022, the Chinese leader Xi Jinping called for partnerships in 5 key areas: energy, innovation, investment, aerospace, and culture. And after nearly 2 decades of negotiations, many are hopeful that a China-GCC free trade agreement could finally be signed this year, unlocking billions more in bilateral trade and further strengthening what is already being built as a significant 21st century economic relationship.
I believe that was the end of the video.
Okay.
Yes, and I would like to invite everyone to start really putting in questions or maybe raise questions here verbally as well before we move on. Winston, would you have a question to begin with?
Sure, I can. One thing I'm interested in is the recent event of about a few weeks ago, the BRICS meeting in South Africa, Johannesburg, that there was a decision for BRICS to invite 6 countries to join BRICS next year. Now, 5 of them, as I understand, belong to MENA. The only one that's not is in South America. I forgot the name. Argentina, I think. So Argentina, and then there's Egypt, there's Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Iran.
And Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. So my question is, can you comment on the significance of that expansion of BRICS?
Yeah, of course. Thanks very much, Winston. Well, what is BRICS? BRICS was a framework that was built to bring middle-sized powers to the table. again, we inherited a post-colonialist format since Second World War, where the victors decided what the world order looks like. And then you had the five big boys become part of the Security Council. During my whole career, we were always talking about the reform of the United Nations in terms of allowing these, well, they were small size, but they were becoming medium-sized powers, and to be more inclusive for a more established, balanced world order. And countries like Japan, Brazil, South Africa were always vying to become part of the Security Council, not be just part of the General Assembly, as this was the umbrella of how to keep the world in peace. And by keeping the world at peace, by having the big boys sit together, then the small boys cannot threaten the stability of the system that we built. It never happened. I joined the Foreign Service. I stayed there for many years and I left and nothing happened. So I think the BRICS itself was a move by China and its increasingly evolving role on the world stage. And it included a variety of countries which were becoming a sort of big, strong economies in their own areas. Brazil, South Africa, Russia. The problem, of course, now is that the BRICS is struggling more pressure from the West. I think then this, I think mostly was a Chinese-driven initiative to add more countries which have economic potential or still have geographical, political weight and potential. So if you look at the 6 invitees, so you have, again, I go back to where the Gulf comes in. Even the video itself and the promotion keeps talking about the GCC, and in the middle he talks about the Middle East. Again, he makes the same. You have to really, even almost academically, so I have to dissect that to start a new terminology. So you have 2 countries which are part of the GCC and the so-called Middle East, 3 in the Middle East, 4 in the Middle East. Iran, for political reasons and also for natural resources. Egypt, for its political reasons, even though the economy is not doing very well at the moment, but still remains as a powerhouse. Argentina is the second other biggest country in South America. Ethiopia is one of the biggest countries in the center of the African continent. So that's how I think it's a political maneuver to push this sort of new 21st century, establishing a new, I don't want to call it new world order, but pretty much sort of enabling more of these medium-sized powers to stop this polarization between the East and West. And so what the benefit of this really truly can become is one of the ideas I had for MENA. You have to create more platforms. You have to create more areas where people can meet and forge closer ties, and they can exchange. They have not been able to exchange with each other in the past. We've always looked West. I have nothing against the West personally, but it's just the way that sort of format has been working hasn't worked very much. So I think it's mostly a political choice of groups of countries. These countries are also have enough size and power to be able to release this tension between East and West. These are countries that can actually say, we have a choice to forge a more diverse and more dynamic future and a more stable relationship with who we choose. They're not smaller countries that are dominated economically or by force to belong to one of the camps. So that is I think Saudi Arabia, of course, would have never been a candidate 4 or 5 years ago. But now that they are really showing intent of owning their own destiny, these are invited. They have not, I'm not sure which ones have accepted that offer yet, and whether that name will change or not, and how far it will go beyond being a political platform, because you have some differences between and some competition between China's foreign policy and India's foreign policy. You have issues with Russia. Putin was not able to travel to the last meeting in South Africa. He also did not travel to the G20, and nor is President Xi Jinping. So we're here in great new territory we're going through.
Yeah, I think the you're right. This addition, you know, it depends on how the implementation works. But I'm going to follow up with just one thing, which is not so long ago, and I'm trying to remember, maybe half a year ago or a year ago, China brokered this peace arrangement between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and of course there was a big deal. So now that, in addition to that, BRICS invited both Iran and Saudi Arabia into this big camp. I just wonder, this, of course, there could be a relationship or a connection with that. Can you comment on that? You know, that development?
Yes, I'm so aware of it. Yeah, this all comes within China's new role of actually being a broker in international relations, because the broker of the international relations traditionally in that whole Middle East area, or where the Gulf is, and Egypt, and was always the United States of America after World War II. And before World War II, it was the Brits and the French. So it was always Western. So those were the brokers. Those were the ones that had an interest in the region. China was never that part. So now China and its rise on the international stage, it's been rising economically for a very long time. In the past few years, now it's become a military power to reckon with, a technology power, economic power. So now they are beginning to broker some of these issues. So Iran and Saudi Arabia is a very big issue between two countries with different religious inclination and also influence in the region. I don't want to bore because it's outside, but this has been going on for a long time. The moment was very opportune for China to help, as Saudi Arabia needed to get out of Yemen. The Yemen issue was not being resolved. It was the alliance which the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia had forced to solve the issues of its interest in Yemen, were being impeded by factions supported by Iran. Iran also was facing a lot of criticism for some of its internal freedoms for women and what have you, which was very covered extensively in the media. I think that the Saudi media influence had a lot to do with that. So both countries needed to reach some sort of form of a calm. This confrontational. This confrontation has been going on forever, and I think will continue to be part of that dynamic between Iran and Saudi Arabia. So China doing that did not go unnoticed by the West, the traditional broker, and Iran is considered a pariah state. It's been under sanctions for many years. Again, I'm just sort of analyzing the situation. I'm not here in the position to give decisions or my opinions on any of these separate conflicts or tensions between different countries. I'm just trying to share and exchange where the reasoning comes. So it's a very complicated region that has a lot of history, a lot of religion, language, a lot of things that China and this part of the world never were involved in. So to some extent, you can claim that the West was more experienced in dealing with that, one way or the other, either influencing it or dealing with it or helping or not helping. So all of these are definitely leading in the same, all in the same vein, which is 21st century power politics. And power politics need strong economies. And what you're talking about is trying to shift allies that were considered allies, whether it was choice or not, because some of these allies had to be allied to the West or East. They had to make a choice, whether the choice that was available. I mean, I've talked about Egypt. Egypt with great history, had its own identity, had its one of the richest, strongest countries in that part of the world after World War II, started looking for an identity. So it started going into the Arab League, non-aligned movement, and then you still had to choose. But we approached the Americans first. The Americans were not interested. Then we approached the USSR and became very close allies of the USSR. Then in the 70s comes another president, and then we decide, okay, now we're going to go west. So that hasn't stopped. Only now it's changing because some of these middle-sized, medium-sized powers that even in the 70s were not there. I mean, the whole Gulf area until the 60s was the Arab Peninsula. We have oil, we have resources, and then we have borders, and then we have countries. And now these countries actually have a vision. They have the ability to embrace that vision and try to forge their own future. So the choices are different now.
Okay, thank you, Amr. This was such an interesting analysis for me personally. Learned a lot about all kinds of challenges within the political space and international relations. I see we have a few questions. I see Frank raised his hand. Frank, if you don't mind, I'm going to mute you for now because there was a question from Peter that arrived first. So I'm going to put you on mute for now. Frank. So Peter's question is in the chat. You can all look at it if you want, but let me also read it out. Or Peter, would you like to read it yourself?
Okay. The focus in your video is about energy, particularly renewable energy. And I wondered if you had any more information about the extent of trade between China and MENA to date in that renewable energy area. I'm very interested in that.
Thank you very much. Can I send you that later? I'll send it to Svetlana to send it later. I mean, the statistics are there. I didn't want to. It's a short meeting today, so I didn't want to go into that. But it's specifically this is the what I think is missing is that we don't have many platforms where we can exchange this information quickly, because there is an interest these areas are. And again, as the video showed, which I just randomly picked, this shows the potential of this cooperation, especially in renewable in the future, and that potential extends further. I think the biggest solar and energy farms currently, before this one that's being built in the UAE, is in Morocco and Egypt, and the biggest blue hydrogen plants are also in those. But those are not only being used for local consumption, like the one that's being built in the UAE. They are actually going to be supplying Europe with energy. So the ability to have someone to give you this information, to be able to tap into that market, is why I think is the missing link in the GBA area or China, and the what is called the Middle East, which is really, we're talking about the Gulf and its abundant resources, financial resources, and its need for future development, is that they're developing small communities. So no matter how much you spend in these countries or how much their infrastructure goes forward, you're still talking about a society of I mean, the UAE is 1 million Emiratis and about sort of 3 million immigrants and 400,000 Chinese. Saudi Arabia is 30 million, 20 million are Saudi, but the other ones are foreign. They don't have yet a big enough population actually to show a big potential as markets. So you still have to go beyond that to what I'm talking about, which is the MENA region, where countries like Iran then become influential, and Egypt and Morocco, Algeria, because those have big markets. They have the ability to export to Europe and South. So the potential of your investment could, managing the political risks, if there are any, but once the political will is actually willing to work with your side a little bit more, then that's a double edge. That's a better, I mean, not a better, but both opportunities just become a lot more pronounced. I can try to look up for some because the MENA is normally used. The World Bank would probably would give you most of the information you need right there on the MENA. They have a very strong focus on MENA as a region. So if you go into the World Bank, and the MENA will show you all the statistics that you need. It's how you use these statistics, how you get to those countries, and how you get your hands on some of those bids or tenders and a local partner.
Thank you, Amr. Peter, would you
very
like to?
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Now, I see Frank would like to say something as well. So please, Frank, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, thanks for our excellent speaker. I only have one question. As you think, will GCC countries accept RMB instead of US dollar as a currency to trade oil and other products? And will USA be upset about that? Thank you. Yeah, that's my question.
Thanks very much, Frank. Yeah, there is a trend going about the fact that not everyone is as happy as they were with lack of clarity of the US administration towards the region, perhaps, if I may put it this way. The domination of the dollar is also being an issue for a lot of the, as they call them, not so developed countries, and with their debts and balance. So yes, there is definitely a trend in trying to trade. So far, because of a lot of different reasons related to the monetary system of the world, I think, and the instruments that you can do and where you can exchange and where you can list. I think the Saudis are exchanging quite a bit in RMBs, but mostly for the oil, so head for head. But below that, or in other industries, I think this will take time, and it will be definitely very hotly contested by the dollar or the US. So yes, the US is not going to be happy with it. It is a long way. So the dollar is so entrenched in the world economy. It does make sense. It does make sense for all of us really to do it the old way, because right now we're just going through a different. It's just like you and I now. We're talking in English. I would never understand your joke, and if I never understand your jokes, unfortunately I'm here, so I love the food, beginning to understand the food and habits. But to go beyond these things, to get to that point where I trust my money in your currency, you trust your money or your future, your investment, your savings, your kids in my part of the world, it's going to take us time.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Frank. I see Johnny also has his hands up. Johnny, please go ahead.
Emma, actually, my company is working on atmospheric water generation. We generate water from air. We got patents, international patents, that is quite, well, we believe is the most advanced one, most comprehensive one that can generate water directly from air. With some home machine just like less than 300 watts, so it's very energy saving. So I would like to know, you got well, you mentioned that energy is one of the focus in trade between China and Middle East, and we found that when we're working on this the water industry in the past few years, we found that in the ESG umbrella, water is normally be put into the energy sector. Water has been put in the energy sector. So I'm not sure whether you got particular trade statistics or investment statistics on water in the Middle East area. And we have on ground, besides the international patents that cover 152 countries. We also applied granted and on ground patents on the Europe, the more than 40 countries, American and also others with the wealthy Asia Pacific countries. But because we know that the way of doing business in Middle East and Africa, they're more like on the relationships, just like the old China, the business on the relationships. So rather than patents or other kinds of dimensions. So we are establishing some connection with those royal family in the Middle East and in several countries. I'm not sure whether you have any advice because your experience in China and the Middle East trades. So do you have any advice on how we should proceed on these kinds of new technology that we believe water is very, very important in the Middle East? So I believe there should be demands there. I would like to have your views on how we should start it better. Thank you.
Okay, finally, we're back. Now we're into the money. Show me the money. Okay, let's go. Let's leave the geopolitics aside for a while. It's been quite a long session. Look, it is personal, mate. It is personal. I agree with you fully. This is my view now that I've learned the way of the Chinese. We're very personal. It's not about statistics and numbers or whatever, Western style. It's very different. You have to sit with them. They have to feel you. You eat with them. So my advice is there are a lot of opportunities. You need to go. You need to study or understand a little bit, feel it, and then the relationship becomes very strong. And the Arabs are like the Chinese. Once they know where to go, they stick to that. So this is, again, what I thought when we were doing the format for the MENA chamber. MENA chamber because they believe in chambers here in Hong Kong. I could have called it anything else, right? And it was all about sort of how to get this cultural part, how do you bridge this cultural part? That is the main, in my opinion, it is the personal connection, how we view you and how you see us. And this has all been through an intermediate language, intermediate platform. So the idea was specifically what you're saying. How do you build a business context? You do a study tour. You go there. So everyone wants to meet the royals. Everyone I know in Hong Kong has been to the Middle East trying to meet the royals. The old times, the big royals, the old royals, they dealt with old people their age, right? Things now are a bit more expanded. There's a lot more structure to it. There's a lot of brokers. If you are really interested into tapping into that market, you go with someone you know, that you trust, you find the right partner, and you understand the environment real time. And then I think the possibilities are enormous. And that's why I kept doing this map, is what I'm trying to do is that build that corridor. And then the more that corridor is built, then it becomes organic and natural to do business with a region that no one has any statistics on. No one knows what MENA does with China, even though we know that it's been going on for many years. And every sector has not had enough interaction. So yeah, look, I'm very happy to discuss further on how to work on that specific area. Now, water is a great area because water is a problem in that region. We have a limited resource. I mean, the whole world. I mean, I think if you have the Ukraine world war at the moment, but if you have another war soon, it's going to be water in that region. So water is something that everyone is really trying to work with, and you could actually justify it being part of the energy because it's very essential to everything. So with those patents, the only thing is you need to show them that these patents are real and that the technology is reliable and that you can deliver, because the brand always of the West in our minds is superior to the brand from the East. We trust it more. That's just a historical interaction.
Okay, thank you. Amr, I hope you don't mind. I put the slides back up
Yeah,
and
I
I
think
put
he
them on.
was saying something yet still.
Okay. Okay, I think I have to mute somebody here.
I think he was about to say something.
Oh, Johnny, maybe you can unmute yourself.
Emma, actually, we are not just technology, but we have already got mature product. Like the image behind me, it's just like a coffee machine size atmospheric water generator, which can generate 10 liter of water, on average 10 liter of water per day. So just small machine using very little energy. So basically, we have got these kinds of home machine. We have got water plants, big machines. We have got atmospheric water planting solution, which got around 20 times of the yield than traditional planting. So basically, we are not just technology owner, but we have products. Yeah,
I'm very happy to, if I can, to facilitate this for you with pleasure. My contacts are with Winston and Svetlana. I'm very happy. I mean, this is the whole exercise is for us to help each other to really actually understand and get deals. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I like, GPX.
Yeah, it's a great platform. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a hand from Mohammed as well. Mohammed, would you like to come in at this stage?
Yeah. I would like to ask Mr. Amr El Henawy. Okay. I come to Hunan about 2 years ago, and I have join 100 meeting with the center of the government in Hunan. I have meet like Tenzhou, Guiyang, a lot of city government, even the Beijing government. The government support the factory to move out of China to go some like Middle East and African country. Okay. But I like Mr. Amr El Henawy give us some support about if the factory need to move from China to the Middle East, like Egypt, okay, and what is the government like in Egypt? What support he can give the factory? Like I have more than 100 businessmen, owner of the factory. They really need to go do the business in overseas, but we sometimes meet some problem, to be honest. Okay, but I really would like if Mr. Amr El Henawy make us like some list or some document to give the businessman here and the factory like some offer if you're going to the Middle East. Okay, what offer we can give it to you, like a free land. If you need to build your factory, you can get the Egypt the free land. Okay, even you can get some support from the bank in Egypt. Okay, because if the business man or the factory boss move his factory to Egypt, he have two choice. The first choice to make the factory by himself. Okay, the other choice to make partner with someone in Egypt. Okay, so this problem I meet like the last years when I usually every week I have to go the government meeting with the center of government to meet like 20, 30 factory boss, they need to move because the market in China for most of the factory is not good now. So let we say like 50%, they really like to do the overseas. They only focus on the Middle East and the African business. Okay. So I just would like to get some information or details from Mr. Amr El Henawy. Thank you too much.
Thanks very much, Mohammed. Look, I understand fully what you're saying. So a lot of it is on the internet now. You know, the platforms of how supposedly you can find investment opportunities or how to do it. The Saudis are doing a very good job. The Emiratis are doing a great job. Egypt Online is doing a very aggressive marketing where you can get the license and find where you can get benefits for your business. I think a lot of the Chinese companies need to look seriously at relocating some of its work to another part, so they don't get caught in this East-West sanctions and trade war. And so they need to find places where they trust, and a place where there's growth, a place where there's stability, but also you understand the risk of what you're doing. Now, traditionally, some countries in the control and some of the countries in Africa is quite strong, the red tape. So you were right. Do you do it on your own? No, I actually think that that's the wrong way to do it, because you stay isolated from your environment. You don't have the right partner. I can't help you. No one can help you, give you enough information to be able to operate. So you need to do some homework. You need to go, well, you're from the region, but you go from the region with your bosses because they have to feel it. Then you understand. So you need a bit of like a study tour, perhaps. Then you need to do some homework on the legislation, the latest one, and get good advice on what the environment is like. And then you choose which country you would place your energy. It's a big move to move and pay all these costs. So information you get first, but it's mostly, I think, is you get the right advice from the right people. Then your risk is a lot lower. I think that's but there's only one way to go, and you have to go and open up there. In my opinion, that's where the communities are growing. That's where there's Europe is. Again, I'm not anti Europe by any means, but Europe is an aging society. It is competition for you, so you need to take that leap of faith. And as long as you are doing it properly, and that's why I wanted to build this platform, is to enable these questions to be exchanged on a regular basis. Because if that platform is open to people from there, they're going to come here and they don't know how to get to China. They find you on this platform, and then you've got a match quickly, a faster match, one or two, then you find the right one, because they help you also with that. They take care of that part on the other side. Saudi Arabia and the Emirates at the moment, in terms of logistics, you can open anything you want as quickly as possible. It's about how you operate afterwards and how to achieve your goals, and the logistics of what business you're in, whether it's for the local market or it's something that you need to do regionally. So then you have to figure out the supply chain and the logistics of shipping, all this stuff. So but it's time. You have to do it. I can help. I mean, if I can help with the specific one, I'm very happy to put you in touch with someone.
Thank you, Mr. Amr.
Very happy.
We start with my team, with Mr. Jonathan. He's with us in the conference now, and with Emma, and we build the station in Cairo. Now is under construction. We make the station for the Chinese product. Like, it will be better than Amazon, because Amazon, he take too much profit, and if you need to return back your goods, you should pay much profit for Amazon. Then we're going now to make the station in Cairo. The station can sell retail market, can sell wholesale, okay, and they can transfer the goods to any country near Egypt. Like, if have the client from Sudan, we can transfer the goods from the Cairo station to Sudan. This, it will help the factory, no take time, like production line need 20 days, shipping need about 1 month. So we will save the time for the client. Just when we build the station, we can transfer the goods very easy from the Cairo station. This is the first step. Second step, each product is very good selling. We will talk with the factory boss to build the small factory from as a beginning in Egypt. Thank you very much, Mr. Amr.
Well, I'm very happy for you. If I can help, if you have any logistics with some government contacts or whatever, I'm very happy to do that. And if you're looking at better conditions, you probably can find some, when you expand, some stuff outside Cairo as well, as long as it fits within the ease of transporting your business. So
okay, great.
So I wish you join us the next meeting with the government. I have the meeting next week with the government of Hunan, and I have the Beijing government, and I hope you join us the meeting. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm happy. Let's discuss. I'll check. Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure.
Sounds great, guys. It looks like we're having a lot of connections being forged already. So thank you very much. I see there's another hand. Monsef, would you like to go in?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Amr. Okay, Amr, nice meeting you here, and thank you very much for the insight that you provided. And I kind of really appreciate that you actually come into the.
Monsef, we cannot hear you. Please unmute.
Okay, how about now?
It's good now.
Okay, perfect. Hey, Amr, nice meeting you. And thank you very much for the insight that you provided today. In fact, I do appreciate the role of kind of, call it branding that you're playing here. And I think we need more of it in the region. In fact, I just came back from Riyadh last night, and I'm leaving for Dubai tomorrow. So I'm one of the people that actually been traveling to the Middle East trying to conduct business in the region. So from background, I was born in Morocco. I grew up in New York, and I've been in Asia for 18 years. In fact, connecting Asia and the US for 18 years until call it the last 3 years. The geopolitical situation have kind of soured up between the two nations, and I started to kind of look into the East. My whole career, I worked in, call it knowledge transfer or investments in Silicon Valley in the US. I'm in the private equity. So investing Chinese money in the US, and as the Silicon Valley in China started to grow, I started bringing capital from the US, investing in China, and I was involved in a lot of the tech IPOs. In fact, a lot of the apps that you guys probably have in your phone. So it's been a very interesting, call it, few months of traveling to the Middle East, even for me, because I've never done any business in the Middle East. Though I'm from Morocco, I speak Arabic, and there is some cultural heritage there. But there is some similarities in terms of the Chinese and the Arabs, where there is some common ground, and obviously there is places where there is diversion. And so having said this, I mean, there is a lot of sovereign to sovereign discussions, a lot of government to government, talk. There's a lot of headlines in terms of how much money is being willed to be invested, across both places. But in your view, how do you see, because there is the sovereign to sovereign business and there is the normal people business, right? And I think that's where I think your value can come in Hong Kong, and that's where always it's needed. So what is your view? How do you think you can ignite or catalyze that part of the kind of the connection?
Oh, thank you very much. Well, we need help. I mean, we need to build platforms where we can get more people to do this, because again, as you very rightly said, I've also been traveling back and forth to the Middle East recently as well, or the Gulf, if you want to, if you name it. So institutionally, yes, energy, arms, or certain parts. Does it trickle down or not? Trade at the lower part in terms of consumable stuff without technology? That's always existed. It's all these layers below that have gotten private equity. I've had a lot of conversations with private equity here. But these are institutional again, and most of them are investing in institutional products here in China, and which there's still very little appetite for in our part of the world. So it is all these other investors or all these other people or these other projects that are in between that are not connecting. We're not connecting the dots between those. And my idea of the MENA was that we bring on board people who can do this. I mean, this is not a mission for one person. This is a very long process that took a very long time, and it hasn't yet materialized in terms of familiarization between both our races, if you want to call it, right? So, and then from there, if you have enough people who can translate, like if someone from the group would go with you or with me to the Middle East, you could show them a lot of things that they could not see easily because they don't grow up from that environment, and would take them another year or two, or probably maybe even just put them off. Like I have a lot of people trying to convince to come to Hong Kong. Oh, the food and this and that. And when they come here, they only go to Zuma and what have you. They never mix. So if you never mix, how are you going to trust that person with the future of your money? You know, it's so more visits, more information on a personal level. We're personal and the Chinese are personal. We go to them, as Muhammad was saying, go and meet them at that level, at the government level, because otherwise it still remains as a foreign relation. And the same for our people when we go. So when we go from here, we go as a diverse group of people with different backgrounds. They don't find you foreign to them like a group of, sorry, I mean, I'm not saying it in any way, but just we don't understand the Asians. So if it's a group of Asians, we think that these Asians are not, we don't understand their language, so we don't know what they're up to. So we're trying to make a deal and they're trying to make a deal. And we think that they are not very easy to deal with. That's what I get all the time. Like, how easy is it to deal with them? We find it difficult to deal with them. And this is just lack of the ability or to do that. So how many platforms can we build, mate? We can build so many. Look, there's no center of studies for the Middle East, if you want to call it. No association, no chamber to network and lobby governments. You need to network, lobby governments, bankers, people like yourself who know how to make money stick, who know the products. They come here and get lost for 2 or 3 weeks or 1 week or 3 days.
No, Amr, I think, look, I think actually, my wife actually invited me to this, and I just literally landed last night, and so look, I'm glad that you're starting this. I think it's something that is needed. Obviously, there are many. I kind of quoted this to my wife earlier. There are a lot of chambers of commerce in Hong Kong. It's not that is missing, and I've been living here for 18 years, and I have not attended any, to be frank, this whole time over here. So, look, you brought up very good points. I just want to kind of share something with Johnny, who is talking about his product, right? That you want to raise money for, Johnny, right? I just give you an advice. I think, and again, I'm just gonna be very brutal in terms of my feedback here. Is there is a perception that Middle East is like more of an open checkbook, right? There is a lot of money there. There is no doubt. Okay.
Yeah.
However, they've given money in the past, right? You understand? They've given money in the past. They did a lot of passive investments. They did a lot of investment where you go and say, look, you're gonna make 3, 4, 5, 10 times your money, right? That was great back in the days, right? Now they want something back. So, in fact, personally, I mean, I'm part of a private equity fund in Singapore, buyout fund, and right now we are setting up in Dubai. We're gonna set up having an office in Riyadh, and but again, you gotta go with the value proposition, which has to give something back. So, because again of my background and because of my heritage, we kind of pivoted our traditional buyout to basically, so we're going of the profit. We are raising money in the Middle East, and we're having good traction. And
Okay, I don't know why, but Monsef, your sound
we
quality.
have a buyer fund. Every company that we're gonna buy, we're gonna set up a subsidiary in the GCC. So if you look at the Vision 230 of this, 2/3. Apologize, guys. Maybe let me redial in from my iPad. Just give me 1 second.
Can I interrupt for a minute? So interestingly, next Saturday, our anniversary dinner in Hong Kong, you all would be there. I mean, let's see, Johnny, Amr, Mixi, Svetlana, and also Monsef and Michael. So you can all talk about this issue, right? For a drink even afterward. But anyway, just want to let you know that you will be there. I can even give you the table, put you all together.
Oh, thank you, Winston. We'll be missing you though.
Yeah, I know.
Nice to have you at that table as well.
Well, next year I'll be back.
Okay. Well,
I'm looking forward to meet Winston, but I like to meet you.
Monsef, are you back? Would you like to finish what you were saying?
Well, I'll follow up on what he said. I think that he makes a very valid point. Everyone's got this idea that they're just giving money away, or it is changed. It has to be something that makes sense, a value proposition for them. It has to be something that fits within their plans for their own development and their own progress. Then you have an edge over all those others who are just trying to go there to bring money out of the Gulf. There's not much money out of the Gulf. That's what Monsef was saying. You have to find a value proposition that means something to them and then connects with them, and it has to be on their own. And that will also then bring a lot of investment back. Sorry, Monsef, I was just trying to keep them entertained. You came back.
Thank you. No, so I was saying it just happened that maybe we're lucky, maybe it just happened, but our fund specializes in renewable energy, semiconductor, and advanced manufacturing. So basically, we've been looking at the supply chain business for the past 8 years, and given the COVID and what's happening now, obviously everybody talks about supply chain, everybody talks about the industrial revolution, right? And everybody talks about how they want to create new industries, and so we were lucky that 2/3 of the 2030 Saudi vision is basically our strategy. We like two-thirds of it is what we do. But again, if we just went in there and just asked for money, then you will not get anything. But so from the beginning, we went with the very conscious decision, but also very in conviction that we want to take part of that revolution that will be in that region, which is sometimes you feel like it's a once in a lifetime financial event. When you talk about financial industry, that events that happen usually during the history, and this could be one of those events. So it could be, if it works, it's going to be very big, and also you have to go in with genuinely interested. Just don't pretend, because again, people in the Middle East, they go with the feel. They don't go with the deal, right? So people go with the deal. Some people go with the feel. I think they're more about the feel. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. So even though, as I said, I'm from there, I'm learning a lot. But one thing that is very clear is there is capital, there is a vision, there is willingness to work, but there is a massive gap, and the gap is really not really cultural or language or so on. I think it's more this time. It's more about being genuine, okay, in your interests, and being genuine in the partnership. I think when I was doing the business between China and the US, it was more about respect. The gap that was between the West and the East in terms of China, in terms of cross-border business, from experience, and I've bridged that for many years, it's not about language or again, food or culture. It was never about that. It was more about respect. people from the West always came to the table with the view that they knew better, and they just tell you this is how it works, and the other side of the table had to take it, and I think that's called lack of respect. So it's very important to identify really the gaps that needs to be filled, and as I said, if you go to the Middle East, Johnny, and say, look, I'm going to set up my headquarter over here for my product, and I'm raising money for this great product, I think you have a chance. But if you just go in asking for capital without any angle that's going to benefit them, and when I talk about benefit them is how they can create jobs and so on, it will be challenging. That's basically my 2 cents on this.
Well, thank you, Monsef. I see one more hand from Benedict. Benedict, please join us now.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead.
You hear me? Yeah,
yes.
I'm not too much of a businessman, but I'm very enthused about what Amy is that the way he says, and he's very good. But I do have a little bit of concern about certain entities and elements, like well, we have geopolitics, we have hegemony, and then we have pseudo unilateral standards, and then we may have zero-sum negotiations, and then we may have macroeconomics limitations. Well, we hope that they are facilitators and not deterrents. And I think Amy has explained it quite well, but hitherto you've been talking about a little micro economics about one country dealing with the other. But I can see that I'm a very pragmatic person in terms of economy. And I can see that there is a rising of the MENA countries. They represent a lot of potentials. Hitherto, we don't hear too much about them, okay? Actually, we only heard the big countries like USSR and USA and these countries. But then I think MENA countries really mean a lot. They have a lot of potentials. Now, I would like to ask the question about Amy. I don't know whether I have pronounced your name correctly, but anyway, you are an Egyptian representing a very thousands years of beautiful civilization. Anyway, can you explain to me that most of the factors now we face are facilitators and not deterrents? I'm a little bit skeptical about this. Can you explain to me in a nutshell, maybe, because these are big topics. Okay, sir.
Thank you very much, Benedict. You're absolutely right. We don't hear about it, how to facilitate it. But I think that's the future. And again, this is, as Monsef said, I think it's probably a very monumental shift. And it's I hope that more people here would understand that. And on the other side, how do we bring these facilitators here more to work with this dynamic instead of the old one, or instead of people saying, because of course there will be a big form of resistance. And if there are opportunities or ideas to tap into the growth of a certain region, the MENA region, and it's going to be the same on the other camp. So facilitators, yes, absolutely, because it is the future. But so it's almost like a task that we all have to be part of, if it's possible. Just someone finds the right format or formats.
Amy, I can see that you're not only the ambassador from one country to another, or from one country to a group. you're actually the ambassador building bridges. But I was saying that maybe we don't need that many bridges. We need one big bridge where everybody can walk through.
A practical bridge, yes, I agree with you fully, because those bridges so the bricks and all these other things are government formats that supposedly are supposed to do that. But without all this big bridge that gets people, now that bridge, is it scientific? Is it what format it is? And how much funding behind it that actually can translate this relationship faster or facilitate it? I'm working on it. You know, that's why we made the choice of staying here in Hong Kong. I saw that this is a great entry. It's in English. It's easier to handle for people. It's not as strong as maybe China is, even though Mohammed seems to be happy there without a problem. So it's totally integrated. For the majority of people, we need a proper look here. For example, you got the Asia Society, and it works. Asia Society works on the relations between East and West, and there's many of these formats. A lot of philanthropists do that. Is there one for this region? No. So maybe we step one step at a time. You know, we create something, the GBA with the area, a format, extend it, have a subdivision. I don't know. I mean, it's not about the format, it's the vision of the group of people to finally find which other formats people can walk across that bridge. I believe in the bridge, and I believe that bridge can be established by people who have themselves bridged these cultures before. They're the only ones able to facilitate it. If people who haven't done that before will take a much longer time.
But I mean, the only goal that you should have or cherish is that whether countries will make money. Okay, countries can interact and make money. I'm a pragmatist. Okay, it's no good talking about a lot of high-sounding principles, but do you see that the MENA countries are making money? Are they doing very well? Maybe we need more people like you, Amy.
Well, the MENA countries, so again, some of them are doing well. Some of them are doing less. But the ones that are doing less, there's money to be made. So, you know, it's exactly when we were talking, I said, like, show me the money. I think the money would, but again, genuinely interested in the place, not just the fact that you cannot be seen as someone who's coming after easy money or coming after me because I don't understand that you want my money, and just sort of bridging this thing. But the group has to facilitate how we're going to target these things, because once the money flows, people will start coming and they will start having projects, and then it just opens up. And good luck to everybody. But it's very simple equation, isn't it? I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel. Is how does it happen? I think Monsef is on the ground in the money business. I was in the private sector, but I never did anything in terms of money as much as he is. I was in the business of promoting my country, in the business of big projects and tourism and what have you. It was all about looking for money, forging relations that led to common interest and common money. How to do that and how to trust with this region, you just need more frequency with the right attitude. I think that's probably and people with conviction that is the way to go. But then I've dealt, I mean, I'm here for 6-7 months. I've dealt with so many people. Oh, we want to do this. We want to go to the Middle East. How do we go? And then, you know, we sit with them, you give them advice, or not your advice, sorry. I mean, you give them, you consult, you tell them this, they walk away, then they go there for 2 days. Of course, they get nothing because they're seen as opportunistic, just coming without any, and there's no value. There was nothing to go with, but it's a gold rush. It shouldn't be viewed like that. That's I think going to be counterproductive for the interest of at least this group. So if I'm talking to this group, I'm only interested in trying to help the group find a better path.
Amy, I think the point is still, do these countries share the same philosophy? Like they want to rise, okay? They want to rise. They want to improve themselves, and they want to make money.
Absolutely, big time. Yeah, we've had. I mean, we've had enough. I mean, from that part of the world, we believe that we were always, you know, big old history and culture. We didn't want to be underdeveloped or third world, and no, sir, we don't. We want our kids to have better schools and better opportunity. We don't want to wake up and have our kids. I mean, what you've achieved here in China, in China used to sit on the same bench in the 60s. China was, I remember the Chinese all wearing this long khaki dress on bikes, tons of bikes. Look at you now. So we want the same. Could we do the same? I mean, China had to isolate itself to get this. Of course, it has a lot of other different sort of facilities and abilities. But do we want to be where we are? Do people in Libya want to have no country and violence? Do people in Syria? No, of course not. Do people in Iran want to be sanctioned by the West? This is a very old culture that is very proud of what it has, and it had resources. So, and the Gulf, do they always want to feel that, oh, we're Bedouins and everyone in the world thinks he can get at our money because we're just Bedouin, we're not smart enough? Of course not. Do they want to continue to import things from everywhere else and not be able to see it in their own country? Do they want to go to Paris and London every summer because they cannot have the same food? No. I think the will is there, and it's much bigger than ever before. And I think if you've traveled there enough and you understand the language and understand the people, you will feel it a lot more. For the people who are not used to people from that region might not feel it. It's just external circumstances sometimes are the problem, and your choice of friends that can help you get there is an issue.
Thank you.
Can I excuse me, Svetlana,
yes.
Can I interrupt? Time is limited. And I know that Monsef has raised his hand, but you know, Monsef, you're going to be able to speak to Amr on Saturday next week. So let me do this. There are two people I want to give them a chance. One is from London. I just want to, you know, we have covered Hong Kong and China and Canada quite well. So let's give the guy in London a chance. The other person I want to give a chance to speak is Missy Leung. You know, without Missy, we would not have this conversation today because she was the one to introduce Amr to me. So anyway, Svetlana, if you could give Stanley Chan from London a chance, then after that give Missy, and then maybe we can call for the day. Okay?
Yes, sure. This has been an exciting discussion. So please, Stanley, join us. I see your hand as well. Stanley, go ahead.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, Amy. I think I'm more. I'd love to share more of what I observe, and maybe wrap up with one or two questions. So I'm from Hong Kong. All through my business period in Hong Kong and banking, fintech startup in the past 6-7 years, and now running my own PE firms in the AI space, all of London and US. What I want to share is actually in the past, I think 3-4 months in particular, where I started looking at the MENA region for capital as well, and talking to my friends, basically all from Hong Kong. Some of them are on the Web3 committee. Some of them are doing financial PR. Some of them are more in the listed company universe. So private sector, secondary market, businessmen. All I want to share is the acceleration of getting on the ground in the MENA area is accelerating in a very solid manner that I saw. So for example, I've got friends really got their sister already on the ground. And then there are actually 3-4 groups of people I know that have been a big connector between listed company and other areas started to really arrange a lot of tour on the ground in the MENA area. And then also, of course, from what I saw from the market, in particular, of course, the sports area, the gaming area, there's a lot of things going on as well. So I think from my perspective, if I could ask maybe one question, are there any particular sector that you think, other than renewable energy, gaming, all that the MENA region are really looking out for help or resources in return, so people can sort of focus on that area at all, if there are one? Because I've never really been there on business. I've been to the Dubai airport on transit, so I see the hardware and everything, but I haven't really gone to Dubai for like more than 10 years. But then I'm always curious. But then what I heard is all very positive. Everything is very vibrant. But I'm also aware from other people sharing that we really have to have a mutual benefit. It's not about size. It's about mutual benefit. And I've had one personal interaction with a financial advisor that I knew from LinkedIn. But surprisingly, I can share the fee that they're talking about is outrageously higher than the other area of the world. And they're all talking about because we've only had 11 royal families on top, and we can only work with so much people. So are these correct perception into getting into the ground of the country, or am I missing a lot of gaps in the middle? If that makes sense. I mean,
no, Michael, you're not missing anything. So this being a gold rush and people going just to tap into this accumulated wealth, it was Qatar, and now it's Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Yeah, you have to figure out what they want and what they're going to do with their money. And what that's created, of course, this rush, is a lot of these brokers who are charging huge introduction fees for nothing. They charge you just for the introduction to the royal, and you're on your own. It's not going to work, mate. So don't get drawn into that. You need to first of all, the royals themselves are very few. They have a big structure, a lot of gatekeepers. Their sons run the business, so this is just for people. This is becoming like London or Hong Kong 15 years ago. So gaming, yeah. I mean, if you study the Arabs, so they need or that region, they need basic needs: transport, energy, all the infrastructure and consumables. And so gaming or for branding. So for branding, industries like in the UK, whatever, are still on the West, are making a lot of money, of course, from all this like rush from the Saudis to spend all this money on sports, whatever. So services, instruments for money. But then again, you do it online without going, without understanding what you exactly can achieve, and without the right people, you'll spend, if you're willing to spend, you'll spend a lot of money and might not come out with any money. So if not, then you have to be genuine, you have to go there, you have to show them, and you have to see them more than once. And then I think things will evolve. You'll change your views and identify, and they will come forth. I mean, the Arabs, if we're talking only about the Arabs, right? But because that includes Iran, whatever, and I think they're a bit similar. Once they trust you, the dynamic changes very much. It's very different, regardless of how different they are in countries. It's quite different to how the Western mentality deals with the business approach or the culture or whatever. Yeah, but opportunities in many different sectors, these are growing. But the Gulf has a lot of accumulated wealth that it cannot spend all of it on their own territories or their own future. They need to invest it in other areas that would diversify their economy, and it wouldn't be just relying on the sources that these resources will not be there forever. So they need to generate money from going into the business of sports or what have you. I'm happy to exchange
totally
more, but because of the time constraint, so yeah.
Yeah, cool. And just last sharing, I guess I've already also seen, I think, the money from that area to invest in the Chinese listed company quite a lot recently on the public market. And that's also something that shows about the diversification and also appetite on some industry, like consumer goods, like you said. They put a lot of money on the Asia public company, bring them local, I suppose. It's what I saw recently as well, which wasn't really happening before.
Yeah, we let's organize a trip, study trip.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then you get more familiar with it.
Yeah, I'll connect. I've already connected you on over LinkedIn, by the way. So let's talk more.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Stanley. And perhaps we can invite Mitzi now as well. Mitzi, please join us.
Thank you, Svetlana. Yes, I'm from, maybe I introduce myself. First of all, I'm from the education sector. I've spent more than 3 decades in professional and vocational education, which is very important, okay, in whatever economic and business areas. We need people, okay, at the moment. We really need competent people so that things can continue, including, for example, building of this platform that Emma is working very hard on. And it's my pleasure to be able to connect the dots, okay, to have this morning's, Hong Kong morning, okay, opportunity to share. Before I attend this meeting, I really have very, very limited understanding of the Gulf, because in the past, we just don't have the opportunity, because we all have limited time, right? So we spend our time on things of high priority. But I agree that now MENA is becoming a very important area, especially with this polarized world, okay, and the East and the West. So we really need something to bring more sustainable peace to the world. Well, after I retired, then my next interest was helping the UNESCO Hong Kong Association. And we founded a Global Peace Center. Global means the world and also local, because the world is getting smaller. And one of the things that we were trying to do is promote commitment to peace and to create the right conditions, okay, and environment for peace is very important, because without stability, we would not have business. Hence, I find this very interesting and support the development of platforms, especially MENA, okay? And also, there are a lot of misunderstanding, because without communication, we would not be able to understand each other. Without understanding each other, we would not be able to respect each other. So I think that is about all that I would say. And thank you, Winston, for your supporting this endeavor, and also Emma. And I look forward to meeting some of you next Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitzi. Well, at this stage, Winston, would you like to raise another question, or shall we start wrapping up? I see it's already 11:49 Hong Kong time. We cannot hear you, Winston.
Oh, yeah, it's appropriate to wrap up now. We already spent almost an hour on, a discussion or Q&A. So people who see the recording will not look at, will not see the end, if it's too long. So I think we should just, and also the people around here, 6 of you would be meeting next Saturday anyway. So, and then we can also continue, we can always invite Amr to come back for something else, because he has other things that he can share with us. Yeah. So, all right.
Indeed. Yes. Thank you. Well, at this stage, Amr, would you like to say a few more words before we wrap up, or shall we just go ahead?
Been a pleasure. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. And yeah, I'm very happy with how long we went over. and hope that we can continue to try it. Yeah, there's a lot to do. It's fun.
Yeah.
Have a lovely day, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Amr. Thank you so much for sharing with us what your vision is for the chamber that you've organized, and for connecting the dots, like Mitzi mentioned, and many of us here, I think, are really keen to establish human-to-human connections in order to achieve bigger goals. So I think this has been an amazing discussion. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Amr, for your insight. Thank you, all the participants, for questions and sharing your experience, your visions, and your hopes for the future. But more than anything, Winston, thank you very much for organizing this. I look forward to meeting you in person, Winston, at some point. But definitely at this stage, I look forward to meeting those of you in Hong Kong next week as well. Thank you. So look forward to another occasion. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day.
Svetlana, you did a very good job. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Winston. Have a lovely day if you're in Hong Kong, and have a great evening if you're somewhere else. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.